Jeez, it's hot out here. Let's talk about it though. Token's new album, I'm Not Supposed to Be Here. It's raw, it's abrasive, it is surprising, it feels personal, and I think it might be one of his best albums up to date, if not his best album up to date. Let's crush this review. Not Supposed to Be Here, the first song of the album, probably my favorite song of the album. It just opens the scene. It sets you up into Token's past. He's talking about how he came up, how some other rappers were better than him, yet still supported him. And that allowed him to be in a place where he doesn't feel he deserves to be. He feels like there are a lot of people better than him at this rap stuff. He feels like a lot of the subject matters he's rapped about in the past has been just about how good he raps and not anything of substance, because he didn't live through enough. At least that's his opinion, and that's how he sets this up, saying, look, I'm not supposed to be here, but here I am, so here's my story. So he opens up about imposter syndrome. He is talking about some of his past vices and the burden of having to be someone everyone else has to depend on. Us normies, us normal people. We might feel when someone near us is successful, they owe us something because we've been there, we've helped them, but we have to toe the line and understand that technically they should be there to support us, but we shouldn't rely on them. We shouldn't become dependent on them. And Token talks about some of his friends where he feels like he has to support them completely and he's scared of just dropping everything, focusing on his music, being alone, and not having to worry about supporting anyone else, whether it's financially, emotionally, etc., etc. He just wants to focus on the music. Then we get into Never Me, which is a way harder beat. It's, like I said at the start of this video, it's more of an abrasive sound. It's aggressive. Token has his high cadence, high energy, high confidence delivery. There's sirens, there's a pounding rhythm to this one where it just goes boom, boom, boom. But it somehow feels connected to the first one still. The message is basically, look, I can't stand still when things are too quiet, when things are too silent. My demons start haunting me, and everything else that usually distracts those demons comes to play and comes to light. Then we get into Duck Hunter. This one's witty, this one's funny. If you watch the the music video, you'll know what I mean. This is very old Token, where he's just flexing, he's having fun, he is showing what he can do lyrically, his wordplay is there, and these jokes aren't just funny, but they're constructed in a way that's a little bit surprising, in a way that you might have never thought of the joke before. So I think this song has high replay value. So we get into Friends, and here's where the album starts to settle in and you start feeling exactly what Token's trying to do. Every song feels different but cohesive, so different ingredients for the same recipe almost. We get into what does...
Yo, sorry to interrupt your video.
Hey,
man, but
how's it going?
What's with the camera?
I'm just doing like music reviews.
Oh, word? Oh, that's
Yeah,
so sick, man.
yeah.
Right on. Well, you take care.
Thank you, man. You as well. What does your love look like? Featuring Ren. And for those that don't know Ren, he has a very loyal fan base. He has one of those almost cultish fan base that he's cultivated, through, deservingly so, through all of his unique music, his real takes in rap, talking about real issues instead of, having a lot of fake songs. He has his fun songs as well, but Ren combining with Token here is something that feels special to me, at least, being someone that has been listening to Token for a long time now. I've been listening to Token. I think the first song I've ever heard from him was Happiness, and that one really struck a chord with me when I was younger. So seeing Token's world collide with Ren here in this song that's very real, that talks about some some darker themes about having to break chains, break cycles of negativity, right? You know, seeing your parents argue your whole childhood and almost instinctively doing that and making the same mistakes in your own relationships because that's all you know. Token talks about breaking some of these habits and how it feels like it's a chain. You really have to yank it to get out of that cycle. You need to be very intentional. You need to be very strong-headed to change what you've been molded to be, basically, by your past. The hook is beautiful, it's simple, and I think Ren adds to the tone of the song because this is very much one of Ren's expertise, one of the types of songs that Ren makes the best. Kumquat is a fun one. A classic Token one song again where he's flexing, he's showing what he can do lyrically. You know, this is one of the things that Token does the best. It's finding ways to chop syllables into interesting flows in a beat that's different, in a beat with a lot of distorted instruments, a beat that would usually be hard for most rappers to flow on, and he finds a way to do this, and he does it confidently, and he does it with lots of smart lines and lots of fun wordplay that most artists can't do even on a normal beat. Feral as well. Feral, I think, is going to be one of the songs that does very well in his album, reminiscent of some of his older work, but in a fresh tone. I feel like what we get in this album so far is an evolved Token where he's not just doing songs because it's fun to him and because it sounds good to him, but he's doing it with intention now. We're getting one of two types of songs in this album. We're getting a very real song that is storytelling focused, driven on very simple wording, but getting a message across and getting you to see something in a perspective that you might have never thought of something in the past. Or you're getting a fun song where he's just rapping and just showing what he can do, right? Like, not a lot of people can do what Token does. You know, Tech Nine is one of them. Tech Nine is actually on this album as well. Peter, I've done a reaction to that. It's amazing. It's like a boxing match between him and Token, where it's like who can flow the best, who can say the most words that sound the same but all mean different things, who can have the most inner rhymes in a 16, who can have the cleaner rhymes, who can deliver better, who can rap faster. And he just goes back to back with someone like Tech Nine. Are you guys kidding me? You know, being able to keep up with Tech Nine as young as Token is in his career, insane to me. I want to talk about Sarah's song because this again goes into Token's past, very self-reflective, and he's talking about how that first relationship might have been the one that ruined it for him, the one that made him have a lot of trust issues. It happened around the time he blew up, so all the negative aspects of being a public figure kind of manifested itself within this relationship with Sarah. The lies, the doing this and that for attention because Token's about to be famous, Token's big, so let me draw attention to me by associating myself to Token. All these negative aspects that can come, you know, friends that are maybe using you, girls that are using you. It all happened to him right as he was coming up, and he feels like that's permanently stained him in a way that he doesn't trust women anymore. And he doesn't know when something's real. And when he does know something is real, the influence he had growing up and being influenced by his parents and their relationship might have negatively impacted or made him self-sabotage himself at times. So Sarah's song is a heavy story, but it's wrapped around this beautiful production, emotional. There's definitely many flavors to this album, and I think a lot of the stories are relatable. You know, it's not just something about someone growing up famous, but a song that a lot of guys might have went through, you know, their first relationship where they were slighted. And I'm sure girls go through that as well, but obviously here he's talking from the perspective of a guy, which is why I'm bringing this up. Then we get into Odd One Out. I wanted to specifically talk about this song because it feels like the sort of beat, the sort of sound, the sort of weird, high difficulty production that Lil Wayne would hear and be like, oh, you don't think I can rap on this? Let me show you I can rap on this. Unfortunately, we didn't see too much of that on the Carter 6. I mentioned that in my review, but everything I criticized the Carter 6 for, those same reasons are why I'm praising this album, because Token shows throughout this album so many different sorts of beats, and they're weird. They can be very up in your face, and some people might not like that. I recognize this, and that's fine. But what they can recognize and they can admit is that Token can rap on it. So some of these beats that you might not favor, you know, audibly, are still being murdered by Token's flow. Marco Polo feat Marco, he has a very weird style, kind of like, it's offbeat. It's offbeat, but when it gets too offbeat, he catches himself and he slightly pulls himself into the beat again. This is a style that might not be for me for a whole song, so I'm very happy that Token's on here, and Token kind of breaks that up a bit. So you can enjoy this offbeat, more conversational flow, and then get some very technical, on-time delivery from Token. See You Leave from Stephen Rodri is a beautiful song. I feel like he really carries the tone with his hook here. It's a beautiful blend of forgiveness and regret. He has a smooth hook and an essential softening tone to him that kind of tempers down on Token's raw, rough around the edge type flows that he does. You know, Token's always in your face. He's yelling, he's being aggressive, he's saying shocking things. And having someone that's a little bit smoother, someone that can just serenade you almost, just cut up Token's verses, really pulls back from some of the negative aspects of Token as a rapper, where it's like, the best way to describe Token is sugar. Too much sugar, you crash, even though it's amazing to taste. And I think whenever he's on a song like this, or he's on a song with Marco or Ren, you get a little water, you know, you get a little refreshing reset to your ear before we go back into Token's amazing flows. Now let's talk about Jeep. Jeep is probably going to be the song that performs the best, and this is going to be an unpopular take. It's not a song I'm going to be listening to every day. I think that song has a lot of moments in it, a lot of replayability to it, and I think it's going to get clipped and do really well on TikTok. But if I listen to that song every day, I think it's going to get old pretty fast. So this is a song that I enjoy, but a song that I'm going to take very cautiously. I'm going to listen to it every once in a while so I don't ruin it for myself, because I'm not always in this high energy, high production that's just in my ears at all times. I'm not into listening to that all day, every day. But I recognize that that song is probably going to be his best song on this album in terms of streams. So we have to talk about I'm Your Baby. This song is uncomfortable. Intentionally, I think that's exactly what he wanted to do. It's a song that I did not expect at all to hear on this album. But at this point of my listening to it, I realized that I was going to get something raw at the end, seeing as this album is just two different faces throughout, right? Um, but this one was extra surprising. I recommend you listen to this one yourself and you take your own conclusion from it. But I applaud Token. I'm thinking about Ren because this is something Ren does a lot as well. But I applaud Token for being so raw and vulnerable to us. And he's done it throughout this whole album. He's even done it in the fun, high energy flexing, rapping, rapidy rap tracks that he has on this album, where he's just unafraid to just slip something completely real. But to keep this short, this track shows bravery and it's slow, it's deliberate, it's thoughtful. So overall, this album is full of moments, quick flashes of raw emotions followed by wit, then some brutal sounds sometimes, some brutal honesty sometimes. And it's a blend of so many different sounds, so many different styles of rap and production that it feels like exactly what made Wayne blow up. You know, the fact that he could take all these weird samples and instrumentals and rap on them and show like, you know, this is just what I can do, guys. Give me anything, I'll kill it. The flex tracks serve as counterweights to all the real tracks and the storytelling tracks, because imagine hearing just a full storytelling album for 59 minutes. No one's gonna do that, right? So I like how he keeps things different while keeping things shaped still. Some tracks, like I said, aren't everyday listens for me, not because they're bad, but because they demand something from me. You know, whether it's critical thinking or being upset sometimes or being vulnerable. I don't feel like doing that every time I turn on Spotify. So not every song here is an everyday listen, but I think every song here is important. What makes this album impressive is it does not feel like a mixtape, right? And I keep talking about this, so many different themes, so many different sounds, so many different energies, but it feels like they all belong with each other, and it feels like they follow on to each other one after the other. So curation wise, I think he did a pristine job here. You know, Token is experimental, but it's intentional experimentation. Controlled is within a framework. So I'm going to rate this album a 78 out of 100. For the exact reasons that some songs aren't in its entirety, some of these songs aren't everyday listens for me. Every song has a moment that I can cling on to, but not every song from start to finish, from the first second to the last second, are, you know, that catchy and that attractive to me. But all in all, it's probably one of the best albums this year. It's especially for people that like learning about a new person, a new rapper, someone that's up and coming, that likes supporting new talent, independent talent. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. Token grows a lot on this album. The writing is smarter than usual. I'd say the emotions are somehow more raw than usual, and they're very direct, and he finds a way to take all these complex feelings and these complex introspective insights that he has on himself, and he has a way of making it very simple. He'll say it in one bar. He'll say something that describes one of the most complex feelings ever in one line, and that's a sign of a great writer for me. If he keeps building from here, I think we're watching the evolution of a rapper that's going to make some noise. I think this album puts him on the radar for a lot of people. So let me know what you thought of the album. Let me know what you think of Token. How did you like the features like Ren, like Marco, like Tech 9? Let me know. Let me know. This one's an interesting piece of work for me.